Good morning. It is 8:47 a.m. It is January 21st. I believe today is Wednesday, so we are smack dab in the middle of the week. And I wanted to come on here and make a video. So the first thing I thought of when I got up this morning was, I was thinking about how, I have my reasons to believe the things that I believe. And I do believe that Bruce had, was trying to coerce my son into initiating bullying tactics on me. And I do believe that this has something to do with the rent. This is one of the reasons why Bruce took the money for the rent and then tried to, put pressure on my son because what he wanted my son to do was monitor me as well as direct my life direction. Okay. Now, I had said that, my son had mentioned something to me. This is when we were living in over on Bell Terrace. My son mentioned something to me, right, that kind of gave me the indication that, because like I said, I understand I'm gang stalked. I understood that these techniques are based on COINTELPRO, which means that they use everyone. They don't, nothing is sacred to these wicked people. They will use your own children against you. So he said this to me, and I thought, okay. He said, what he said was, we've eaten cashews all my life. Okay. So this is not like it's something new that I eat cashews, right? So I was eating cashews one day. And like I said, I grew up eating cashews. My mom ate cashews. The whole family bought cashews. The cashews was a part of our regular grocery list. And so it's nothing new. So I was eating cashews, and my son walks up behind me and said, "What are you doing eating cashews? That's really luxurious." Now, Houston grew up with cashews in the house all the time. Okay, this is just like a carryover from what I used to eat when I was younger. And he said it's too luxurious, and I kept thinking, this particular network is trying to bully me into a particular lifestyle, and I have every right to eat what I want to eat, and I'm tired of these people trying to damage my life. This is my life. And it's like it's an utter form of disrespect. So Houston did make attempts to do these things for his father. Okay, maybe he thought he was on the right track because this everybody was saying this, and they were probably lying and acting like this had something to do with religion, even though I'm sorry, you know that's ridiculous. Okay, so anyway, I realized that number one, I'm Houston's mother. I'm older than him. There's a hierarchy in family structure in my family. And when I say my family, I'm referring to me and my son. Okay, I've always let him know that we have the right to live how we want to live. Okay, meaning as long as we are living within the law. Okay, and so I resented that, right? And so I had noticed sometimes my son will make suggestions or whatever, and either I'm willing to eat food or I'm not. Okay. And I resent what Bruce was trying to do, especially going back to the issue of Bruce trying to put pressure on my son. Okay, I would tell you that is extremely morally depressing, and and I feel as though him making this issue of the rent was a way of threatening my son's life as a form of coercion. Okay, because I do believe that Bruce was trying to destroy who I was, the way that I looked. Okay, because according to maybe his view, I remember. You know what? Now going back, I remember Bruce used to tell Amanda how to wear her hair. And I do remember him telling me when we were dating that he liked it when I wore my hair back all the time. And I just believe that Bruce had this particular idea of how women were supposed to look. And he is somebody who is very adamant about getting his point across. Okay. Maybe he's very controlling like that. Okay. But like I said, I never expected Bruce to just come emerging into our life. And even though I knew, that I didn't want Bruce to have a relationship with Houston, I'm going to move this computer. Originally, I did not want him to have a relationship with Houston. Hang on. I did not want him to have a relationship with Houston, but of course he ended up doing that because the kid's a 533 and blah 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 blah. Okay, but he did. So anyway, what ended up happening was is that um I believe what happened is that because Bruce had a relationship with Houston, I always thought that maybe Houston and Bruce would just do activities together. I never realized that Bruce would sit here and try to conspire against me about certain things. Okay, I figured if they want to have a relationship, that's fine. Go hunting, go fishing, even though that's not really their thing. Go to Bruce's rave parties, hang out with Bruce's friends, but you stay the hell out of my life. Okay, I never thought for 1 minute that Bruce was going to have anything to do with my life. Okay, I thought if he wants to have a relationship with Houston, I already made it clear I wasn't going to marry him, so I don't give a shit what he has to say about me, right? But no, going back into some of these memories that I'm thinking about, okay, I do recall him, being very specific about how he liked girls with their hair, how he, telling people how to live their life. Okay, I don't appreciate people telling me how to live my life. Okay. I don't appreciate it. Okay. And the message I'm getting right now is that everyone regrets not listening to me. So what pisses me off is that don't ever put that kind of coercion tactic on my son. Okay. Because number one, don't you think that breaks my son's heart that he has to sit here and bully his mom? Because that's exactly what it is. Okay. It is exactly what it is. Because you know what? I love my life. I love the things that I do. If I eat cashews, it's because I love them. Okay. If I decide to wear my hair a certain way, it's because I look in the mirror and that's the one that I approve of. Okay. When people sit there, how would you like it if, okay, like for example, if somebody made you wear a hairstyle that you didn't like? Okay. I will tell you, you will feel very inside out and upside down of yourself. You will not feel like yourself. You will not. You will not feel comfortable in yourself. You'll be very self-conscious. You'll be feeling whatever. Even if other people compliment it, it's not you. You don't feel any attachment to it. Okay, so as him not being my boyfriend, and if he was trying to be my boyfriend, I would never be with somebody like that, ever, in a million years. Okay, because that's considered to be abusive. Yes, it is. Okay, so what he was doing, I believe, was he was telling my son to tell me how to live my life. And then my son was supposed to, according to him, follow out instructions. Okay. Me and my son are family, not Bruce and Houston and Maria. Okay. Like I said, if he wanted to have a relationship with Bruce, that was his issue. Okay. So I'm going to tell you right now that whole late fee bullshit, or I'm going to say the legal fee with the apartment thing. Okay. It's really pissing me off. It pisses me off. You know why? Because it's coercion, period. Plain and fucking simple. You had no right to sit there and psychologically abuse my son with that sort of bullshit. Okay. It's like, it's like, how dare you? You know what I mean? He was basically trying to shift my life into a direction that I would definitely commit suicide. If number one, I would have to be a Jehovah's Witness. Number two, if I was supposed to sit here and eat food that Bruce wants me to eat. It's like, how fucking dehumanizing. And then you were going to sit here and try to blame my son because he wasn't doing the job. Okay, I already know. Okay, when me and my son talk, okay, if my son's not talking about video games or being silly or making a joke or something like that, if he's sitting here saying something like that, I'm very suspicious. I'm suspicious of everybody and everything that somebody says. You know why? Because it's become very apparent that I was dealing with gang stalking. Okay, and like I said, COINTELPRO is exactly those same tactics that get enacted out. Right? So I'm sitting, I'm like right in front of the computer screen, right? Because I'm like really getting pissed off. But anyway, what I'm saying is that this is my life. Okay. I made decisions not to be a Jehovah's Witness long time ago. Okay. And I'm not going to live my life in an image of Bruce. And he wanted to also limit my abilities to promote my projects. Right. This is his fault. Okay. And somehow he thought that he could merge my projects with the Bakersfield business owners or employers. Okay. This is my work. This Swan Song Manifesto is about me. Okay. And he had no right to sit here and direct it. Okay. And the message is because he was sitting here saying, well, she doesn't have a bachelor's degree, so that doesn't matter. Okay. The Swan Song Manifesto is about me. Okay. It has nothing. I mean, I'm beyond irritated with Bruce. I am like the moment I wake up, I sit there and think about his shit. Okay. I'm tired of him dumping on my son. Okay. When he had no fucking right to. Okay, and then of course, when it came to my Swan Song Manifesto, they're all sitting here getting together, right? And the message I'm getting is that they were talking about it because it wasn't in alignment with their religious views. Well, guess what? It wasn't about you. It wasn't about you. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that I am being recognized as an MK Ultra survivor. and people look at me as somebody who is very successful with my swan song. See, and the sad part is that he had my channel shadow banned, right? So I only get to see so many members. Somehow or another, I think it gets uploaded on a shadow channel. Okay, and see, I lean very much into mysticism. Okay, why? Because I would say that I'm somebody who is very spiritual, very spiritual. But you got to understand my DNA. My DNA is just aligned with that sort of stuff. Why? Because that's just what it is. I'm somebody who is interested in hidden knowledge, that sort of topics. So when I first had my YouTube channel back in 2007, no, 2008, somewhere, no, maybe it was, I don't remember. Anyway, my YouTube channel, my YouTube channel was basically talking about mysticism because that's where I lean on. You know what I mean? And yes, I do believe that mysticism as well as things that are Christ based can be, hand in hand. That, like I would say, Pentecostal, I give them as an example of people who acknowledge that. They acknowledge the unseen world. You know what I mean? And yes, I acknowledge the unseen world. I tend to be more into the unseen than I am on the earthly plane because I am completely discontent with how this world operates. Okay? So my message is that yes, okay, when it comes to, hang on a second. Okay, so people look at my father's apparition as very holy. And yes, it is. Okay. I myself have not physically seen that apparition. Okay. I haven't seen it. I don't know what it looks like. Okay. And I keep thinking maybe I should pray about, maybe having that ability. I would love to have that ability to see my father's apparition. I do not see it. I was not aware of it. And see, I think Bruce just absolutely has a love-hate relationship. He loves to fucking hate me. So he thought that I was sitting here walking around showing my father off as I'm walking down the street. Okay. I had no idea. I had to sit here and like figure it all out myself. I had to figure out this whole issue about the 1960s. And I found it all out through, the different readings that I have created. Okay, which I think are very helpful. And yes, I do believe it's important to check into your past lives. I'm sure many of you guys have, and you guys have found out a lot of cool things about yourself. Because, clones and stuff are not just, celebrities and politicians. They have what I call them street clones. We live here in the regular neighborhoods just like everyone else. Okay. So the message I'm getting right now is that a lot of people regret not listening to me. And in the beginning, I was right all along. Yes. So what Bruce was, coercion is when you do something, right? To put somebody in a compromising position, to force them into something, right? To force them. All right. And a coercion is against the law. Okay. And I talk about how coercion is used in, situations of gang stalking, coercion in human trafficking, backing you against the wall. Like basically saying, oh, Maria can't talk to people. She can't do anything until she changes her life. When I have absolutely no legal obligation to do so whatsoever. Okay. And so he would like to try to make it a religious issue, but I'm not your religion. Okay. And there's a plenty of women. Okay. And I can go to name stores and places that I have been to where I see women wearing nice clothes and wearing nice makeup. Okay. So I'm tired. See, what Bruce wants to do, a lot of men like to, control women because they don't want women. They want them to be available for them. Okay. Now, I don't know if Sarah, for some reason, I get the intuitive feeling that Sarah was a part of this network. Okay. And like I said, I would never be in a network with exes, with their spouses, or friends that used to be my friend, but they somehow turned against me or anything like that. Okay. Because, it seems like all it does is it brings about competition, envy, and all this other stuff. See, I remember me watching a TV show with Bruce's sister many years ago, right? And I think the show was 90210, right? And on the show we're like, Brenda, Brenda, I think Kelly, I think stole Dylan or something like that, right? And somehow or another in the show they were still friends, right? They were still friends, right? And I remember Jennifer saying, that's bullshit. Like, she didn't say it was bullshit, but she was like, I wouldn't do that. And what I was thinking in my mind, I wouldn't do it either. Okay. And then, the reason why is because number one, there's always going to be some sort of kickback. Okay. And see, it seems like, if there's some sort of tension, then you're going to be brought into drama that you don't want to be brought into or whatever. Okay. And obviously, what Bruce was doing, number one, if Sarah was a part of this entourage, okay, and he was sitting here, manning my stuff, what the hell is Sarah mean? What does Sarah mean to Bruce? What does Sarah mean to Bruce? Okay. So it's like, well, why is he dealing with his ex-girlfriend stuff? Okay. And then Sarah's just sitting, was it he's trying to steal my stuff to benefit him and Sarah? If so, how disrespectful to me. And then sitting here using my son to try to manipulate him so that he can destroy my life and he and Sarah can benefit off my shit. Right? Okay. So maybe let's just say, for example, Sarah wasn't involved. Right? So he was sitting here trying to force me into being some sort of stepford wife that I didn't ask to be. I want you to think this process through. Okay. And so either way, I look at my son as being abused, especially if Sarah was a part of this issue. Okay, because if Sarah was a part of this issue and somehow or another he was going to use my projects to advance his life, right? To advance his life, right? He's going to use my son as a stepping stone, to totally disregard him so he can use my son as a stepping stone to destroy my life, right? So him and Sarah can drift off into the sunlight. Fuck you, Bruce. That's exactly what I'm saying. Okay, so all of this has a lot to do with my father's apparition. So they all want to gather around and look at my father's apparition, him, Sarah, and all his other friends, right? And he's going to sit here and manipulate my son, right? To whip him in shape so he can whip me in shape, right? Or should I just say out of shape, right? So it can benefit what? His ego? Either way, I don't care how you slice it, Bruce is in the wrong. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is everyone regrets not listening to me in the beginning. I was right all along. And then it also says is that, yes, I do believe that this legal fee is all about manipulation. It's all about coercion. All about it. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that we don't owe it. What I'm saying is, yes, we owe the rent. We owe the rent. We owe the rent. Right? Because if it's late, it needs to be paid into to that lady. Right? Into the executive property management. Why? I understand how business works. Okay. She expects income to continue into her business, right? Because she's got expenses that she's got to pay. She's got upkeep to make on this building. Okay. I'm not dumb. I know how the process works. So, and I feel bad because that should have been paid. Okay. But at the same time, I'm sitting here looking at this legal fee and the fact that they sat there and served us with papers, right? And the fact that my son had to sit here and to recreate some sort of bullshit about him not being able to pay it on time because he's ashamed of his fucking father. Period. So I'm tired of Bruce's coercion. So exactly where did that money go? It went to Bruce. Okay. So the message I'm getting right now is that, okay, it is true. Bruce was trying to destroy my looks. He was jealous of my career. He was resentful of me seeing me live my life. And he wanted to destroy it for his own well-being, okay, with Sarah, with him. And then he was going to use my son to do it. See? Now, I want you to think this through, okay? I understand these things, and this is why people can't get over on me. You're not going to get over on any bullshit. People used to tell me when I was a teenager, Maria, you should be a lawyer. See, I have dealt with so many people. People have always had, even though people would sit there and call me dumb, they knew good and well that I wasn't. They did it because they felt insecure around me. Okay. So I pick apart everything and dissect everything. So my son knows he's been manipulated. Anybody with half a brain in this community, once you really look at it, yes. Because how are you going to explain that? I certainly would never consent to sit here and give my projects away to Sarah or Bruce. Right? And I bet you anything they certainly were. And the reason why is because they are into my father's apparition. Well, guess what? My father's apparition belongs to me and my son's genealogy, not yours. Okay. What else do I want to talk about? Oh, you know what? For some reason, I do want to give a shout out, and this is so strange. Okay. I don't know why these people are in my mind, but I want to give a shout out to John Taylor of Duran Duran. And I also want to give a shout out to Billy Idol. For some reason, you guys are in my mind, okay? And you guys are smiling, and I want to say hi, okay? So anyway, going back to this nightmare drama that I have with these people dumping on my kid, is that I understand when people are trying to coerce somebody. And this is what coercion looks like, okay? It's basically trying to harm another person, forcing another person, and penalizing a person if they do not do something, or forcing a person to do something, okay? And I do believe that my son was being bullied by his own father in order to ruin my life, right? So that him and Sarah can somehow benefit from it. You're evil, Bruce. You're evil. Oh, the message I'm getting right now is that the universal forces confirms all is well and I am on the right track. And yep, I was on the right track. I'm right. Okay. So he wanted to get use of my Swan Song Manifesto. Okay. And use the Swan Song Manifesto, and the message I'm getting is to everyone regrets not listening to me. Okay. You cannot use my Swan Song Manifesto, Bruce. Okay. You cannot. Okay. Now I will tell you what, if my son, wants to, I don't know, do something with the Swan Song Manifesto. See, it's my story. The only person who I would agree, to have anything to do with my merger would be, of course, my son. Okay. And I did invite, Vladimir Putin into my projects if this is what he wants to do. Okay. But I am not going to sit here and be like taking any dictation from you, Bruce Collins. Okay. You are psychologically abusing my son. Okay. And I'm tired of your shit. Okay. So I did get it. I got 2 messages from the landlord, and I'm not trying to blame her. I understand she has a business. I respect business. I respect the flow of business. Okay. I respect that. Okay. The message I'm getting right now is like, yeah, I know that she knows what's going on. Okay. And then also I got a text message from another representative from the same organization saying that she received my payments. So I'm not going to respond to any of them yet until I talk to my son. Okay. To figure out what's going on. And I tried to talk to my son this morning, but I'm tired of badgering my son about it. I'm tired of it. Okay. Don't you think it's tired? He gets tired of having to open up his wounds all the time? Or don't you think both of us get tired of it? Because we don't ever get any moment's rest because of Bruce's bullshit. Okay. I have to wake up in the middle of the night and sit here and be like, oh, he has ruined my entire day before it even starts. Okay. I'm tired of you, Bruce. I mean, I hope to God you're dead. I really do. Okay. This is my life. This is who I am. This is why I did not join the Jehovah's Witness group. Well, part of the reason why. Okay. And I'm angry that you even did what you did. Okay. And there's no justification for it. What you are is a selfish person. And like I said, I do hope you're dead. And if you're not dead, you should be. Okay. The message I'm getting right now is that I am free from Bruce. Also, people think that the way that I dress is fine and it's appropriate. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, I do understand, I do have my hair, okay? I do wear half wigs, okay? And the reason why I wear half wigs is because I really don't like messing with my hair. Now, tomorrow or either tomorrow or Saturday, I'm going to have to tackle my hair. I'm going to have to wash my hair and untangle this nasty mess that I'm really sick and tired of, okay? I don't like dealing with it. I really don't. And I would say that the use of half wigs really helped me and saved me time. And it's, I think this looks better. Now, the way that my hair looks right now, this is exactly how my hair would look. It looks like my hair. It looks like my hair. I mean, actually, the front of my hair is my hair, right? I just use it for the back. And I would say that it looks a lot like how I used to look in the 1990s. Okay. And it's not overly long. It's the length that it usually stays. So I think I'm fine with it. Okay. I don't appreciate people telling me how to wear my hair, Bruce. I don't like people telling me how to look, Bruce. How would you like it if somebody told you to look a certain way? Okay. And if you did something like that, you would be a puppet, Bruce. Everybody has their own individual look and style. And they should too, really, I think, because it's fun. And it also, it's a part of your personality, right? And see, I would say that my hair looks exactly kind of like it did in the 90s. And you notice the way that it's cut and shaggy, it looks realistic. This looks like my beat up hair. Seriously, my hair looks very beat up, and it always has split ends. It always has messed up shit on it, so it looks very, very, really realistic. So I like it. Anyway, I'm glad that I'm no longer associated with Bruce because Bruce is a very psychologically damaging person. He's an abuser, and a lot of people don't even realize that they're abusers. They don't, because I talked about generational ignorance. Generational ignorance can it's like the only point of reference they have is maybe their parents and their grandparents, and they were like that too. And they don't, they don't think about those sort of things. I remember I had an interest in psychology when I was little because, I started realizing that there's something really off about my relationship with my mother. You know what I mean? And I remember they brought in these little stories, at school in second grade about something about warm fuzzies and cold pricklies. I cannot remember the name of the book, right? But I remember thinking that my mother was someone who was not concerned about our psychological well-being. And I remember confronting her about this. It's like, you don't care about that, and I know she felt guilty. She felt guilty because I don't think she really could. She couldn't really feel loved. Under those circumstances, she just couldn't feel love towards us. It is what it is. Even the so-called golden child, Lisa, right? Because there was entirely too much misery in Mary's life. Okay. And I'm talking about being realistic. I mean, talking about real feelings that trickle down into action or inaction. You know what I mean? And when people really do not feel connected to their families or the people who are in these forced relationships with, they can't fake it. They cannot fake it. You can sit here and like force somebody into marriage, and then somehow or another they might be detached from their kids or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think my mother married my dad because just for financial reasons. That was it. And then also my mother felt really unhappy because the world was progressing without her. You know what I mean? My mother didn't drive. She didn't do anything. She was just a housewife. And I really, when I think about mom, I mean, Mary, I kind of get sad at times, even though she was a bitch to me, but like get under the circumstances, what the fuck was she supposed to be? You know what I mean? She was a pawn. Anyway, so the message I'm getting right now is that people people understand that I was right about Bruce. Okay, and I don't want to continue saying this, but I want the issue with the rent resolved as soon as possible. I don't want to have to deal with this anymore. You know what I mean? And I also I want to not have any more signs of dealing with stalking with Bruce or anything else. You know what I mean? I go into town. I see girls with fake eyelashes on. There's a girl I see at Dollar General. She wears eyeshadow all the time. And she's got a job and she's gainfully employed. And I'm sitting here like, okay, right. Okay. I do think that, makeup should be worn for maybe concealing zits and stuff like that at work. I don't have a need to sit here and overdo makeup at work. I know when I was younger, I would overdo the eyeliner. I'm going to tell you what, I love that stuff. Okay. I do. I love makeup. I'm going to tell you, I love it, love it, love it. And on the weekends and stuff like that, if I can match it and stuff like that, I enjoy it. Why? Because it's color. And yes, I do believe that color does help people enhance their mood. Okay. And when I wear makeup, it has nothing to do with male attention. It really doesn't. And I think a lot of people think that it does. I think a lot of men don't like a lot of women. They might call them, oh, she's high maintenance or whatever. And really, that goes in one ear and out the other. Because I'm serious, I do love makeup, and that's the way it is. And I would say, given this Egyptian type background that I did have at one time, I'm going to say, I would say that is completely in alignment with who I am. You know what I mean? And yes, I know that there's a lot of white people here in this community that may not be that they may be into tanning. That's their form of beauty. Like I talked about Rondo Van Tassel. Okay, that's still the beauty industry. I don't care how you slice it. Okay, so white women to go get tans, that's a form of beauty. It is a form of beauty. It's a form of beauty enhancement. And I've met several white women, right? Several white women who have talked to me about how they actually like their skin darker. Okay. And I don't trip on it. To me, it's like you look in the mirror and you either are content with what you see or you're not. You know what I mean? I don't judge them on that. Okay. But still, I also think that Rhonda does Botox or something like that. That too, of course, is, I think, I don't know what Botox is. I've never had it myself, but I think it might be like if you have wrinkles or something and they can inject something to make that go away. Why would you care about your wrinkles going away unless, of course, you're trying to enhance your looks? That right there is beauty. Okay. Now, so what I'm saying is this was like total mind control. Total mind control. And so, and I would say like I said, I know that a lot of white women, when I was working at, I had the news station, my manager's daughter said that, my manager said that her daughter would get hair extensions put in. Okay. So Even white women wear hair extensions. Okay. But people don't need to have it advertised. It's no one's business. That's no one's business. Okay. So once again, no matter how you slice it, it was a hate crime. I do get the feeling that Bruce may have been like, wanting to, bully me and my son. Maybe he felt as though that was getting him some sort of brownie points. You know, I'm proud of our bloodline, my bloodline. I'm very proud of who I am. You can't make me ashamed of CB Braganza. When I think about CB Braganza, I smile ear to ear. You know why? Because he was a man and a dedicated uh, uh, follower of the divine. I believe that he was completely someone who was in 100% 24 hours a day in some way worshiping the divine, and that's how I am too. And I've always been that way. Okay. And I think we have me and the LDS Church and other religions may have had doctrinal differences. Okay. Just like, a lot of religions have doctrinal differences, anything from divorce to marriage to what else do people get all all trippy about? Burial rights, whatever it is. Okay. I would say, okay, we have a doctrinal difference. Okay. We need to get past that. Okay. Yes, I believe that marijuana is divine. Okay. Yes, I believe that women and beautifying a women beautifying themselves is good for their emotional well-being. Okay. It really is. And I will also tell you that when men try to bully or how could I say this, manipulate women, oftentimes they do so by hurting their looks or trying to attack their looks. Okay. Why? Because this is the emotional attachment that women have towards themselves. It's not arrogance. It's about balance. Okay. Also, yeah. So when I think about Bruce and what he did, I can see right through that. You know what I mean? And yes, beauty is important. Now, I do not believe that I am physically beautiful. I'm not beautiful like Halle Berry. I don't look like that. Okay. But I believe that expressing who you are, how you feel on the outside should be reflected on how you feel on the inside should be reflected on the outside. This is one of the reasons why I get up in the morning. I'm like, okay, how is my day going? How do I feel? I can turn on like maybe a song on the radio and hear something. It's like, that inspires me. This makes me feel blue and I want to wear blue. You know what I mean? And it makes me feel good. And sometimes I might be in a bad mood or a sad mood and I might switch to a color that, is known to kind of enhance my mood. You know what I mean? I feel as though utilizing colors are very important. And, for Bruce to do that, especially number one, if he was with Sarah, that could have been inspired by Sarah. See, this is what I'm talking about, getting involved with exes, okay? And let's just say, for example, Sarah knew that, well, obviously she would know that I was Bruce's ex-girlfriend, and maybe I look extra nice that day, right? So then Sarah wants to sit here and take jabs at me. And she could take jabs at me. You know why? Because we're forced in a network together. See, I don't want to be in the close proximity of exes and all of that nonsense. Okay? That's why it's bullshit. Okay, so like if Bruce was still with Sarah while he was sitting here doing this, okay, Sarah could have been one of my bullies that I didn't ask for. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that marijuana is legal, and yes, it is legal, and I am somebody who completely supports it. Okay, I'm not saying that I'm going out and telling people to smoke it. I'm just saying is obviously if I continue to smoke it from CB Berganza to Maria Gordon, okay, I'm somebody who believes in it. Okay, I believe that it helps me in my brain function. Okay, especially if you're somebody who is severely depressed, it is good for you. But I would say you need to combine the marijuana with some sort of activity. Okay, I do not think that marijuana just sitting there on your bed is going to help you. Okay, help you eliminate anything. Why? Because to me, marijuana can help you focus to the point of where you can just tear shit apart and there's nothing worth anything. Okay, so this is why I'm saying if you're somebody who's using marijuana for mood enhancement, maybe pick up some knitting or do some drawing or something along those lines, because just sitting there, at least for me, okay, is just gonna tear you apart. Okay, because I don't like sitting here thinking about what has to sit here in my brain. I don't like thinking that Bruce Collins was sitting here manipulating my life for the last 20 something goddamn years. Okay, because then that's when I get really pissed off. Okay, So I would say with, combining it with with an activity, and then of course if you're just trying to get some sleep. And I usually do sleep with music on because I really do not like having my brain, blank. So I can have like thoughts just filtering in, because usually those thoughts are going to come right back down to the same piece of bullshit. Okay. So when it comes to, I hope that going forward, when it comes to these churches, I want to move forward with this. Okay. We have a doctrinal difference. Okay. Your doctrines are different than mine. I want to get over this. Okay. Because, I feel as though we should. Okay, I would never raise hell with any sort of religion or anything like this. The message I'm getting right now is that people have acknowledged that Bruce was in the wrong. He was in the wrong. You know what I mean? He's in the wrong about bullying my son. Okay, trying to push him against the wall, and like I said, I never initiated any sort of, never thought that Bruce would swing back and want to have a relationship with me. Okay, and if he did, and it doesn't seem like he did, because it seems like he was with Sarah at the time. Okay, and so that's even worse. Okay, if Sarah was involved in this, that's even worse. Okay, why? Because he was sitting here, what is he, this couple bullying me? You know what I mean? My father's apparition was something that attracted them into being a part of my little network that I didn't ask for. Okay, and I feel as though that is an improper situation. You know what I mean? I do care. I mean, I do care about the kind of people that I meet, and I know that I've met people before in my past, and I know that people have had an interest in me based on church lore, right? And so, it's not that I couldn't hang out with people; it's the fact that it wouldn't be of any quality, right? Because I do want real friends. I deserve real friends. I deserve to be around people who are sincere, who truly care about me, instead of being around people who want to scrutinize me, pick me apart, analyze me, spy on me. I'm pretty sure like these celebrities know what I'm talking about. Like, you just get people who just don't give a shit about you. They just only like you because of X, Y, Z, Z. You know what I mean? It's like, man, could somebody just like you for you? You know what I mean? That would be nice. But people are interested in the whole idea of me being like some heathen in the church or something like that. This is my reputation. And really, it's not that. It's just I'm somebody who truly did care about serving God, whereas many of the churches were more concerned about power struggle. Okay. And I hope that this lesson, right, hits the churches to them, the churches, and hopefully bring more compassion into the church, because that's really what it's all about. Okay. This is why Jesus didn't get upset. He didn't judge people. He was fully understanding of women who were in these situations. Jesus was somebody who reached out to people who were wayward people who didn't have anywhere to go. You know what I mean? He was befriending the people that a lot of people rejected. Why? Because there's a reason why they got there. See, people don't ever think about the reason why people get there. This is why I talk about the issue with Stephen Lyles' father, right? The reason why that story pissed me off is because number one, I talked about social responsibility, right? I talked about, if this was a church thing, right? Number one, churches should understand, here's a church, right? And all the family members are part of that church, right? And see, the church should inspire and encourage the family members to be a unit. That means protective of each other. Okay, your family should be protective of each other. Okay, that means you don't gossip about each other. You don't throw your names out in the street. You don't disrespect your parents. You don't let the parents should be looking at their children as offsprings and extensions of themselves, so that they would not want to harm their kids in any way. So this particular church that the Lyles belonged to, right? When his father had that little indiscretion, it should have been where they had received proper counsel to not discuss this information with anybody outside of their home, right? Why? Why should they not discuss it outside of their home, even with their peers? Because people gossip. Okay. And then they're throwing they're making the father even more vulnerable to the abuses of other people. And it's not even their business. Okay. So now this person is under public scrutiny, right? With a bunch of people. That's not fair, right? Okay. So really, it should have been handled just by the church. Okay. And that family. Okay. And whether they would have stayed together, married or not, it still should have been to the point of where they protected his identity. Okay, because really, when you get down to it, yes, he committed adultery, and yes, that's a sin, okay, according to the Bible. All right, but at the same time, you ever think about why people do the things that they do? You ever think about why? And even if he did, okay, it's like people can be sorry and then they can move on and learn from it. He should not have had to die for that. Okay, and he should have got more support and from compassion. You know what I mean? The whole story pissed me off. Okay, but you know what it did? It made me think. Okay, it makes you think about social responsibility. Yes, I would say if you belong to a church, number one, the church people should be informing the family members that families are supposed to be protective of one another. The family unit needs to be focused on. Okay, if something like that happens, then of course, like if, for example, if a wife or anybody cheats, or I hate saying the word cheat, okay, but they step outside of that marriage thingy, then that needs to be brought up to the council of the church, and the council of the church needs to let people know, okay, this is a very serious issue. It can damage your reputation. It needs to stay in the church, and it needs to also stay not just with the couple as well as the members of the head leaders of the church, not the members of the congregation. You know why? Because members of the congregation are going to sit here and gossip and talk. Okay? This is what I'm saying. I'm just saying is it's like people need to understand that the things that you say about other people are going to affect their life. This is what I'm talking about, social responsibility. Like when people criticize other people out in the open, especially if you have a leadership position, a bunch of people who are very weak-minded are going to follow right suit behind that person. Okay. And just like Bruce was irresponsible about what he thought about me, then that spreads everywhere. Okay. And then lo and behold, Bruce really was just a farce and he really had no right to say anything about it, anything about me. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I got a few things to do. I'm trying to get my head on straight right now. Okay. I do need to follow up with employers and stuff like that because I need to find a job. Okay, I need to find a job and I'm tired of having to deal with this frustration. Number one, I think it's important for me to say that I do know that people were acting as if they had some sort of control over me. Like if I was to contact an employer, they would go and contact somebody else as if they had some sort of control over me. It needs to be reinstated. I mean, reiterated, I'm sorry, that number one, I was adopted. Okay, so if these people thought that the kids of 533 had any right to approve of anything of mine, you're wrong. Okay, especially now that I'm adopted. Okay, the only reason why they were attaching themselves to me was for forms of exploitation. The same issue goes for the members of the Collins family as well as Bruce Collins, especially Bruce Collins. Okay, I am by myself. I speak for myself. I am an adult. I am over the age of 18. Okay, I'm over the age of 18. My son, I think Bruce was sitting here talking about getting custody of my son. Okay. And which I think is funny because you cannot get custody of a 32-year-old man. Okay. The message I'm getting right now is something about, let me see what this is about. Yeah. My son is 32 years old. Okay. So maybe in this little religious group, this cult or whatever, maybe Bruce believes that, I don't know what, he was making something up. Okay. Because legally, by the time you're 18 years old, you're an adult. And I know that my son is an adult and I look at him as an adult. That's why I don't badger him about stuff. You know what I mean? And he knows that his mom's an adult. That's why he has no right to tell his mom to not eat cashews. Okay? So legally, Bruce talking about him having custody of his son. What I think Bruce wanted him to do is possibly have me dead, right? So that Houston could financially support him. Go fuck yourself, Bruce. Okay? You've caused way too much problems. Like I said, I hope to God you're dead. Okay, the message I'm getting right now is that I'm right about Bruce coercing my son. Okay, I'm right about that. And I'm sticking to my guns about it. Okay, and I'm very much sad for my son. Okay, and I want my son to know that, yes, I love him and I appreciate what he's doing. And hopefully one day things will not be this way because this is wrong. Okay, and I wanted if my son wanted to have a relationship with his father, then he could have a relationship with his father. But Bruce sitting here trying to conspire against me with my own son, that's unreal. That is absolutely unreal and it's not acceptable. And, and I do not want my son feeling, mentally torn or like it's his fault or he failed or he did something. I do not put the guilt trip on my son. Do not ever psychologically abuse my son at all. Okay? How dare you put that shit on my son? How dare you? Okay? because I understand what manipulation is, okay? And that is the most painful thing that you could ever do to a person, especially since, my son wanted to be, he wanted to have a sense of family, and to come to find out his so-called family is nothing but abusers. Okay. So yeah, I think that is all I really want to say for now until I get pissed off in the next few minutes. So I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye bye.